welcome to Careers in Accounting. Today we're welcoming Erika Enstrom. She's a WashU alum, so welcome back home.
Thank you.
And Erika is currently a managing director in the EY audit practice. Appreciate you taking the time. Maybe we can start with, how did you become interested in accounting during your time at WashU?
Yeah, so it maybe started before
Okay.
WashU. I actually took an accounting, like really high level accounting introductory course in my high school and thought, oh, this seems kind of interesting. At least business would be
Mm-hmm.
interesting for me. And so decided I was definitely going to go that route. But the thing that probably pulled me towards accounting is just how broad accounting is and
Okay.
what like such a good intro to the overall business is. I mean, to understand and do accounting, you have to understand everything that the business does
Mm-hmm.
so you can make sure you're accounting for it appropriately. And so I just thought that was a great way to get your foot in the door and start into the business world.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's my experience as well. As I took it in a high school class and decided that was my entrance into the business world. And so it's a well-worn path to get involved in business. Can you talk about your early stages of your career once you graduated from WashU?
Yeah, so like you said, I'm in the audit practice. When you are a staff or the first couple years of your time as an audit um, employee, then you really get an area. So like let's say cash, AR,
Mm-hmm.
accounts receivable, AP. And you dive into that area. You're really trying to dig in and figure out, okay, how has the company accounted for that? What transactions are
Mm-hmm.
running through that? And doing some testing on that. So really just diving in and understanding those areas. As I've progressed, the next like even within 3 to 5 years, you start having a team that you're directing traffic on and
Mm-hmm.
making sure that they're doing what they need to do, but then also still kind of getting in the details of everything. And then as I've gone beyond that 5 year period, it's like it's almost like I'm running a little business when on my clients. Like I'm making sure that the team's doing what they need to do, that economically we're getting the right fees for the work that we're doing, and then that you're providing the right services to your clients. And so answering any questions they may have and getting into the technical topics that they come up with if they're going to do some unique
Mm-hmm.
transaction, like how should they account for that? So being kind of their business partner.
Yeah, I like the way you phrase it as running your own business. That's kind of the way I thought of it in Big Four as well. It's like you're running your business, but you're under the protection of the firm, right? Because
It really is,
they'll
yeah.
they'll make sure you have the resources and the technical expertise that you need in your issues as they come up. But you are running the day to day of the client affairs and the client relationship, and then managing your teams, as you mentioned. So
Yeah.
I like that from a business standpoint. It's
It's
very
so easy to
engaging.
forget, that you think, oh, you're an auditor, you're just going to go into the accounting technical topics, and it really isn't. Like you're making sure the audit overall is running how it should run, and like I said, just that we're making the money that we should make for
Hmm.
the EY business overall.
Yep. Can you share a few projects that maybe you worked on recently?
So it's February. It's like our busy time in the
Mhm.
audit practice. And so just actually last week we just wrapped up the biggest client that I work on. It's a Fortune 50 company,
Okay.
global audit. So we have teams all over the world that are actually doing procedures for us. So Germany, Switzerland, Brazil, working with those teams to make sure they're doing the things that we need them to do, and then getting us deliverables and that the conclusions they've come up with are the appropriate conclusions. And then here, just even in the US, we have a team of 25 plus people that we work with. Plus, we have people in our tax group that help us, people in our IT group that help us to
Mhm.
get through that audit. So that's been a huge project. I mean, overall, just in the US, we spend 36,000 hours of
Wow.
man time on the audit. So to get through that and get
Yeah.
that done at mid February was an awesome accomplishment to reach. So that there's a lot of intensity that happens in those last several weeks. And it's just fun to work as a team and to work towards that goal together.
Yeah.
Um,
And I'm sure something like that just doesn't happen. You guys do spend a lot of time planning before the year end to make sure everything runs smoothly. Can you talk about maybe the interaction you have with your teams and the reliance you have on your teams to pull something like that off?
Yeah, obviously that big of a client, there's no way one person could do it
Yeah.
themselves. And so everybody has kind of that little piece that they're working on. We divide the big pie up and say, okay, we even have small little work streams, I'll call it, where this group is in charge of this specific type of piece of the business, and this other group's, that type of piece of the business. And so
Hmm.
it helps kind of break it apart. And as I mentioned, we have specialists they have pension obligations. Like I'm not definitely not a specialist in how you value pension obligations, and so we get another group from EY to get involved in that valuation process. But as the audit team, we're still responsible to make sure
Hmm.
that what they're doing is the right thing, and so making sure that we're in constant contact with them to do the right procedures.
And I assume, Erica, you're one of the point persons for if there's issues that come up alongside this, it funnels through you back to the client. So you get that joy of having to interact with the client on those types of things to make sure everything gets settled.
Yep, definitely. And that's one of the best parts of the job, I'll say, is the interactions that you have with the client. Maybe best parts and sometimes the worst
Hmm.
parts. But it is, the thing that amazed me coming out of college is that I wasn't just showing up and work and not talking to anybody, that like I was constantly talking to the people on my teams, but then also talking to the clients and client contacts that are high in the organization,
Hmm.
the treasurer, the CFO, the controllers, the business controllers. So it really was amazing to me that me as this, first year out of college that
Yeah.
I was talking to those people.
Amazing. And I assume in those large engagements like that, technology has to play a key role in the communication and also just to keep your arms around the data, right?
Yeah. And it's interesting because our world has totally changed over the past couple years because of the data aspect. And we are doing much more of an analytical type
Hmm.
audit than we've ever historically done, which at the end of the day helps us do a better audit because we're able to look at all of the data and look at any anomalies that pop out
Hmm.
of that data and then focus our efforts there. Whereas what we used to do, which what we called kind of like a shotgun approach, and it was just kind of like we get all these transactions, pick a sample, and then hope that we find
Yep.
something,
Yep.
or and that we find the issues that we should be finding.
Yep.
So it's definitely a smarter way to audit.
Interesting. So I imagine with all that client interaction that you've had over your career, you've seen either yourself or some colleagues that have some fantastic opportunities to perhaps outside of public accounting with a client. Can you speak to any of those?
Yeah, and so I think that's what has been so fantastic as part of the audit group is that you see a business, you see everything, and all the different pieces of the business between the HR group, the benefits group, the accounting group, the finance
Hmm.
group, and so you're really understanding what is out there, and then it gives you a lot of opportunities to you have a good background to be able
Hmm.
to jump into some of those positions in the future. So a lot of people go into the internal audit group, but that isn't necessarily the group you'd have to jump into. I've seen a lot of people go into like FP&A, and so they're doing some of the budgeting and financial reporting for the company, and then obviously other accounting
Hmm.
roles. And then I've also seen some go into just like general treasury type roles with the company, so helping them think about what sort of financial transactions they should do in the future.
And I think the good thing about Big Four is you have the opportunity to kind of get exposed to those different areas and find out really what you want to do for the rest of your career because you do have such a long career that it's important to find out what really energizes you.
And I think the interesting thing about it all, that is that you get to see what different businesses are like. And
Hmm.
so there are definitely some of my clients where I would say, "Oh yeah, I would love like if a position opened up, I would love to go
Hmm.
work at that client because I love the culture, I love
Hmm.
the people that work there." And there are some of my clients, I'll be honest, that I would never want to go to
Yeah.
and have to work in that environment. So
Yep.
it helps you get your foot in the door and just understand like what different companies in the area look like.
Yeah. You're almost interviewing every day when you're interacting with them, and they're doing the same thing with you as well.
Yep.
So it's very interesting. Um, So you talked about your teams a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about the challenges that EY and yourself maybe are having with trying to find good, young, talented people to come into an accounting firm such as yours?
Yeah, I mean, our the regulations on audits has changed drastically over the past couple of years, and they keep evolving, which also means that we just have so many more things that we have to do, and
Hmm.
so the more we have to do, the more people we need. And so it's becoming a challenge just to get enough people in the door to help support us on our audits. And then I think the other piece is that, as you were mentioning, IT is becoming such a bigger part
Hmm.
of the business world in general. And so understanding the IT world is a big piece of that too, and understanding how systems are interacting with the accounting that's actually happening at the clients. And so we definitely, it ebbs and flows, but right now is a time when we could use more people every day. And really that the pipeline of going out to colleges and finding people, we would love to have a bigger pipeline
Yeah.
to pull into our.
And so the exciting thing, I think, for the young students is the opportunity. The work is there. It's
Yeah.
exciting, challenging work, and there's a lack of people coming into the profession. So that for those that do come into the profession, there's opportunities abound.
Yep. Agree.
Um, Perhaps maybe you can talk a little bit about what does work-life balance mean for you? I think there's a perception out there that accountants work really, really, really hard and to the exclusion of all other things in their lives. But can you talk about what it means in your life?
Yeah, and it's actually a good question for me because I am actually on a flexible work arrangement. And so what that means is I am actually working 70% of
Okay.
a normal work schedule. And that's helped me. I have two young kids. That's helped me really be able to spend the time with my kids when I need to spend the time with them. But then also, I don't think I could ever be that person that sits at home all the time with
Hmm.
and be a stay at home mom. And so it helps me still get the kind of excitement of being a working mom. So that has, I think, has provided me a lot of opportunity to still be in the accounting world. But like you said, accounting is not, or auditing is not a 9 to 5 job at certain times of the year. But that is offset in the summers or in
Hmm.
slower periods where you just have so much more flexibility. I look at some of my friends, and if they had a doctor's appointment, they have to take a half day off. For me, it's just like as long as you're getting your work done, whether you need to take an hour or two off during the day to go do whatever you need to do, that's totally fine.
And that's key, the team that you have, right? You guys are
Yep.
all working interactively, trying to, balance everybody's lives. And so that's really important to have that solid team underneath you so that everybody can attend to everything they need in their lives. So compensation, that's a big issue for young people. Can you talk a little bit about not necessarily starting salaries, but what do you see in accounting and Big Four specifically in kind of the 3 to 5 year range for a very highly rated person? But what do you see in terms of compensation, just directionally?
Yeah, I would say that directionally, if I can't think of a year where we've never had like a raise. And so generally raises in the big four are much better than what you'll see across the board at other industries
Hmm.
and through private accounting. And so, I think that's a great way to that's really saying if you are sticking around, you're putting in your hard work, that we're going to compensate you for that. And so 3 to 5 years down the road, that you really are have climbed the ladder from a compensation standpoint.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what I've seen. Is it just ramps up rapidly for those that are high performing, and
the other piece I would say too is that the benefits that the public accounting firms provide you, you have to think about it all kind of in one big package because they do, like, I know with ours we get $1,000 for just your well-being fund, and you can
Mhm.
basically use that on anything that you want. They have kind of a commuters fund, so just getting into the office, parking in the office, if you have parking you have to pay for, like they have a fund that you can use against that for I think $8 or $1,000. So it's definitely
Excellent.
thinking about all the kind of benefits
Okay.
that the firm offers as well.
Excellent. So, last question: for any parting advice for college students on areas besides just ramping up your core technical accounting skills, where else would you suggest students spend their time to be better prepared for the profession?
I mean, as we talked about, the biggest thing is you're a client server. And so just your communication skills is such a huge thing that you have to work on. And how to deal with different types of clients as well, because you're going to have all different types of clients. So I think that's really the biggest thing. And then on top of that, then the other thing, when I go out and interview people that I look for is just their ability to multitask or have a variety of balls in the air
Hmm.
and handle them all at the same time. It's not, I won't say it's a super easy job. There's always a lot of things going on, but I also think that's what makes it exciting, that I'm never bored. I feel like there's something new that's popping up every year, or every day.
Yep.
So
So maybe that's a good topic. Can we just explore that a little bit? The perception of accounting being redundant or same as last year type thing. Can you speak to that in your career?
yeah, I mean, especially from a public accounting perspective, I think the thing that I've loved is that I know that there's always going to be a continuous promotion, that you're not just sitting in a spot and waiting for that person above you to
Hmm.
move on to the next thing, retire, leave, and go somewhere else before you can jump up to that new position. That's been fantastic, I think, from a public accounting perspective. But then also just the excitement that your clients are always doing new things. And so you're having to jump in and think about new technical topics that you've never thought about in the past. Or every year, because I've jumped up to a new a new level that there's some new area that you're going to look at. Or you're jumping onto a new client you've never been on and you got to figure out what that industry looks
Yeah.
like and what the kind of hot topics in that industry are. So there's
Excellent.
always a wide variety of things to look at.
Okay. Very good. Really appreciate you taking the time and sharing some important thoughts with us. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.